Hey listener, Hurricane Milton's on the way, and we're diving into Gabaraya's Garden and Candles message to make sure you're totally prepped for this thing. Think of us like your own personal hurricane safety squad.
I like that. Hurricane safety squad.
Right. So Gabaraya gets right to. It's all about being proactive, not reactive.
It's true. Their message really stresses getting ahead of the game, not just waiting around for things to hit the fan.
Okay, so step one, and it's a big one, securing your home. We're talking batten down the hatches, full-on fortress mode.
Yeah, picture this. Hurricane force winds turning your patio furniture into projectiles? Not a good look?
Not today, Milton. Seriously though, why is it so important to secure everything outside?
Think of it like this. You're minimizing the risk of damage from high winds and flying debris. Those are major players during a hurricane.
Makes sense. Less for the wind to catch and toss around.
Exactly. And the more you can minimize damage outside, the safer it is inside your home. It's all connected.
Speaking of inside, Gabaraya is big on having enough food and water on hand. Like a lot of food and water.
3 to 7 days worth, to be exact. And make sure it's non-perishable. We're talking canned goods, dried fruit, nuts.
I finally get to use those cans of beans I've been hoarding. But
Yeah.
really, why that much?
Think about it. If roads are blocked or stores are closed, you're going to want enough supplies to ride it out.
Okay, good point. I'm stocking up.
Yeah.
And what about an emergency kit?
Essential. And I don't just mean the basics. Yeah, you've got your batteries, your flashlight, first aid kit, but go beyond that.
Okay, so what are we talking?
Medications, super important. Hygiene items. And copies of important documents stored in waterproof bags. You never know.
Smart. Okay, so the house is prepped. We got our supplies. What about staying connected during the storm?
Charge all your electronics. Phones, laptops, power banks, anything that'll help you stay in the loop if the power goes out.
Oh, and speaking of power going out, backup power. Should we be thinking about that?
If you can swing it, a generator can be a lifesaver. But safety first. Always run it outdoors and away from windows to avoid carbon monoxide buildup.
Right, safety first. And I've heard solar-powered generators are becoming more popular.
Yeah, they're a great option, especially if you're looking for a renewable and quieter source of power. Plus, no need to worry about storing gasoline.
Smart. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We're just getting started.
Right. But seriously, this is already a lot to digest, and I think it really highlights how seriously we need to be taking Hurricane Milton.
Absolutely. It's all about being prepared and staying informed.
So the storm hits, we've done everything right, we're hunkered down, and then things get quiet. We're in the eye of the storm. Gabaraya mentions this weird calm period.
Yeah, it can be deceptive, like it's over.
Yeah, like we made it. Time to celebrate.
Not so fast. Gabarai is really clear about this. Stay vigilant. The winds will pick back up, often from the opposite direction.
Oh, wow. Didn't even think about that. So no victory laps around the living room just yet.
Definitely not. Use this time wisely. Reinforce your defenses, check those boarded windows, secure anything that looks loose, make sure everyone's still in the safest part of the house.
Smart. The eye of the storm, not a time to let your guard down.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk power outages, because that's a big one. I'm always clueless about how to make food and water last longer. Any tips?
Oh, absolutely. You'd be surprised how resourceful you can be even without power. Start with your perishables. Anything that needs to be eaten sooner rather than later, prioritize those.
Right, eat the ice cream first.
Exactly. And this might sound obvious, but keep those refrigerator and freezer doors closed as much as possible to keep that cold air trapped inside.
Makes sense. Every little bit helps. What about water?
Rationing is key, my friend. Every drop counts. Consider using disposable plates and cutlery if you have them. Less dishwashing means less water used.
That's a good idea. I never think of that.
And here's a curveball. If you have a bathtub, think about filling it with water before the storm hits.
Wait, really? The bathtub? Why?
It's a surprisingly effective way to store a good amount of water for non-drinking purposes. Think flushing toilets. You don't want to be in a situation where you have to choose between a flush and a glass of water. Ugh. No, thank you. That's some seriously practical advice. All right, so we've weathered the storm, maybe had a bathtub water break, hopefully not, and now it's time to assess the aftermath. And of course, Gabriel reminds us to stay cautious, even though the worst might seem like it's over. It's like they say, right? After the storm comes, well, more stuff to deal with. But seriously, what should people be thinking about once the storm itself has actually passed?
It's all about staying aware. It's easy to let your guard down when things seem calm, but there are often hidden dangers lurking around every corner.
Gabrielle specifically calls out downed power lines and floodwaters as major post-storm threats, so no wading through those puddles to check out the damage.
Definitely not. Floodwaters can be sneaky deep and hide all sorts of nasty surprises, debris, sewage, you name it, and downed power lines. Those are a recipe for disaster. It's best to just steer clear of any standing water altogether.
Yikes. Good advice. So say we're staying put, being cautious, but we also want to stay informed about relief efforts, potential hazards, that kind of thing. What's the best way to keep up with everything that's going on?
Your good old-fashioned radio is your new best friend. Local news stations will be your lifeline for updates on evacuation orders, safe routes, shelters, you name it. It's all about going back to basics when the power's out.
Old school, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
This deep dive has honestly been amazing. So much good information, and definitely some stuff I hadn't even thought about before.
That's what we're here for. And remember, knowledge is power, especially in a situation like this. Being prepared and informed can truly make all the difference.
Absolutely. And to quote Gaviria directly, what would you do differently if a storm like this hit tomorrow? It's kind of a powerful question when you really think about it.
It really gets you thinking, right? And hopefully it inspires people to take action, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together, sharing knowledge and helping each other out. That's what gets us through these kinds of events.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Stay safe out there, everyone, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive. Or hopefully we'll be talking about something a little less intense than a hurricane.